Welcome to I Guess, a show where I hate everything until someone convinces me otherwise. I'm Lex Basile Price, and I think radishes are a severely underrated accoutrement. With me today is the beautiful and hilarious Kate Moran. Welcome.
Hello. Hi. So
Hi.
happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you. So, what are you wrong about today?
Pluto is an Aquarius, and it's here to change all of our lives.
Okay.
The girl has arrived.
I'll say up top.
Yes.
Very in high school era, I was very into like horoscope, birth chart, all that jazz.
You were witchy? No.
I know, right? I do read tarot because, peek behind the curtain. Kate was like, "What am I bringing today?" And she's like, "Tarot," and I'm like, "I would love to talk about tarot."
You're already on there.
I'm already
You're
there. But I have only 2 decks, I think, currently. But the one thing I could never get behind was planetary positions, shifting, all that. That was just like, that was my line where I couldn't
It's too much math.
Yeah. Oh, fully too much math.
So much math. So much. The worst part about growing up and like learning more is realizing how much of like life is just math.
I know,
sucks.
right?
That sucks. I agree with you. Yeah, it's a lot of math. But this, I was always like, love my horoscope, love being, real quick, what's your sign?
Virgo, sun,
Yes,
with Sagittarius rising and moon.
Fun. That's a really fun triad. And I love that you came in with the 3, because I always ask people like what your 3 is and they never know. Okay. So I'm a Sagittarius sun.
Okay.
So I see you. Scorpio rising, Capricorn moon.
Wow. Wild spread.
I know. I'm really at odds
witchy.
with myself. Yes. I'm like a very self-hating witch.
You're like, I have to make this make sense.
I know, but it's like, I want to have fun and I want to have sex. Yeah. So it's very complicated.
Great.
But so I'm not into planetary just because it's so confusing. And I want to just put out there right now, like, I am not an astrologist. I do not call myself that. I don't feel like I'm learned enough, but I am obsessed.
That has never stopped me from having an opinion or saying I'm an expert in something.
Right. Like, join the club. But I'm obsessed with Pluto and Aquarius right now.
Okay.
That is I think about her every day.
How do we feel though? I guess it's a galactic body.
Yes.
But how much did it affect that we no longer consider Pluto a planet? Even though in this it is planetary.
Well, I don't ascribe to that Pluto not being a planet.
Sure.
Whatever you want to call her. You know what I mean? Like, she's there, and
we see her. And in
Western modern astrology, she still very much affects us.
Perfect.
I think also that's like I get a lot of people who are not into astrology being like, well, what about that new sign? And it's all different. Now everything shifted, right? Like a few years ago.
Septarius?
Yeah, whatever.
Something like that.
I don't know her. we don't talk about her.
No.
Because a lot of my astrologist friends who are like studied amazing astrologists who I talk to all the time, astrologers, I should say, like they have really good answers for this. All I really know from that is we are looking at the skies and we're looking at the charts from a specific point in time, from a specific perspective.
Right.
So, yeah, like Neil deGrasse Tyson, like, get the fuck out of here. Like, we don't.
Well, I mean, Lord, that man needs to sometimes tone it down a bit.
Thank you.
Let's be honest. Just because you put in a bow tie does not make you the expert in everything, sir.
I might get canceled for this, but I love that
you
said that.
This is it. This is where
thank you. I low-key hate him. I do not. I'm not about him.
There's a weird condescension.
Yes.
And there's a weird, I think,
misogyny?
Yes. And a social media trollness, I think, about Neil deGrasse Tyson.
His ego has been blown up so big now that it's overshadowed any good or knowledge that I feel like he might have had in the beginning.
Fully.
Take a seat. Take several steps down, dude. Calm down. Yeah. But even though, the modern heteronormative scientists of our world can say, oh, Pluto's not a planet and this and that, and can, but yet still have to wear their home team's jersey every time they play.
Right. How dare you, come for our luck when you have to eat a grilled cheese sandwich on Wednesdays or the Yankees lose or whatever.
Exactly. My good friend and co-host of our podcast that we have together, the Witchcast podcast, where we talk about a lot of witchy things, Emily Duncan, she said something the other day that was like, what is witchcraft if not just what the mainstream decides is not?
Very true.
True or popular.
Well, and, historically, it's been a malign thing mostly because of women and queer people.
Yes,
Let's be
exactly.
Totally frank on that point.
Absolutely. And you know what? That's like a perfect segue to like what Pluto and Aquarius means, because this is all of like these next 20 years. By the way, this transit is 20 years long.
Well, I guess is that probably, I'm going to make it totally uneducated guess, that is because of how like far out the orbit is?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
So Pluto takes a longest time to move around the system, and in Western astrology, we believe, we focus on an Earth-centric view. So like there's a better term for that, but basically Earth is the center of how we calculate all the birth charts and all the planetary movements. So it takes Pluto about 248 248-ish years to make its way around the solar system. And then it stays in the particular sign that it's in for about 20 years. And it retrogrades a little bit, throughout that time period. So it'll dip in and out. But Pluto is now officially in Aquarius as of November 19th of 2024.
Yeah, the worst day.
Exactly.
Oh no.
So it's like, oh, I'm sorry, is Pluto not affecting us? Because gestures wildly at everything happening around us. Yeah, so she's here and we have her for the next 20 years, and it's gonna be insane. And and I also looked into this. I did some research for you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. When the previous times Pluto was in Aquarius and what went down in history, because I think that's the most damning evidence we have of like, oh, no, this feels really real.
Like, let's back it up with facts.
Yes. And it's kind of scary. I'm not going to lie. It's like a little, again, Scorpio rising, so I'm a little doom and gloom in general.
But, yeah. I get it. I'm pragmatic. That Virgo energy is not dissimilar.
Right. That's why I love Virgos. Virgos are one of my favorite signs. I married a Virgo. My best friend's a Virgo.
Yeah. This is why we got along when we first met. We're like, we see.
Yes.
We see.
We keep it real. We bring receipts.
Yep.
We can read a bitch down. Absolutely. Okay, so do you want to hear about the previous times that Pluto was in Aquarius?
Please.
Okay, so here are some like top level themes.
Like historical markers and stuff.
Yes, historical markers. So, okay, how do I want to go about this? Because there's so much to talk about. So the 4 historical cycles we saw in the last, because again, it's every like 250 years, which by the way, is the birth of the United States is the most recent one.
Oh, of course it is.
Yes. So what happened, let's just like get that out of the way. From 1777 to 1798, we saw the American Revolution, the formation of the United States. Also, the French Revolution happened then.
Right.
We saw huge shifts in power, huge inventions of technology, communication. So this is a theme throughout. So these themes that we see are like power shifts and restructuring. In the 11th century, there was an East-West schism that broke up the 2 centers of power in Europe, which split the church into Eastern Orthodox and Catholic. Yeah.
I was in AP Euro. I remember that.
Oh, good, because I did not at all. I was like, what?
You're like, when did?
This is all new to me. Yeah. I have a goldfish brain. I literally can't remember anything from like a week ago. But I heard that was really big news back in the 11th century. And then we also saw at that time, in, I believe what is now like modern day China, they invented the modern printing press, which was a huge deal because before then books were created by copying by hand. They were really expensive. Right. It was hard to communicate, and like spread knowledge. And then the movable type was invented, which like was able to spread knowledge and books worldwide. This is of course before our like modern printing press that we know now. That was from like the turn of the 20th century. What happens next there's so many things. Okay. So we also saw huge social changes and transformations. In the 11th century, the separation of clergy from lay people. In the 16th century, we had major shifts during to scientific advancements, the Protestant Reformations, and the changing views of marriage and women's rights. And then in the 18th century, those revolutions that I mentioned created significant social change and questioned structures of privilege. We also have a big focus on divisions and differences. So that us versus them mentality that we see with the Catholic and Eastern Orthodox Church splitting, the religious persecution of Jews and Protestant Catholics, and the persecution of those against revolutions and the rise of nationalism in the 18th century. There's also a lot of violence and fanaticism in these periods of time.
I haven't heard of them.
I know. What? It's gotten violent? So we obviously know, famously, the French Revolution was known for like the systematic beheading of the upper class. Really cool.
Just chop them into parts.
Yeah.
Beat them on a plate.
Exactly. On the let them eat cake. On the lower side of, on the like not so great side, we also saw a genocide of Native Americans with the American Revolution and the establishment of the United States of America. So violence goes both ways. There's also been a lot of inventions during these times of ways to kill people, such as cannons on ships, gunpowder, firearms, the guillotine. All of these were like invented during these time periods. So you have both increased technological advances in terms of communication and knowledge and wisdom, but also in violence and ways to kill each other.
It's that like slingshot. It's like, a little bit of progress. Don't want that. Is what we're seeing.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's like, what else? I feel like that's a lot
Yeah.
to start off with.
So, I mean, what I'm gathering is weirdly, maybe not weirdly, but these like every 250 years roughly, we're just hitting these like vibey shifts is what's kind of going on.
Yes. They're like more than vibey. They're like deeply foundational. So you're a tarot reader. This is like, to me, very tarot, the Tower card.
Yeah.
Energy.
The actual worst card. If you're listening and y'all don't know tarot, everyone loves to dunk on death.
Oh, God.
Death, great card.
Wonderful card.
Wonderful card. If I pull a tower, which I've never pulled for myself, thank the Lord. If I pull that, I might as well be just like, well, I'm done. This sucks. My life is going to crumble and fall apart.
Yeah.
That's the only time where I will ascribe to a reversed, because that's with me and Tara, I was always like, you know what? Every card has both sides. We can, interpret it both ways.
Mm.
Tower is where I'm like, oh no, it's reversed. That one's reversed though. So that one's good. That's the one time I'll be like, no, reverse.
Yeah. No, they're falling up. It's a good thing.
Yeah. It's great.
They're flying. But so we're in a global Tower card moment.
Yeah.
For the next 20 years. So with Pluto is in astrology is associated with transformation, death, rebirth, power. It tends to also, be very much about exposing truths, that shadow side, right? She's very cold. She's very far.
Yeah.
And it's very, intense, even though she is far reaching, and to focus on like core purposes, breaking through illusions, deep exploration. And Aquarius is known as the sign of like social change, radical revolutions, inventions, reinventions. It loves freedom of ideas and speech, rebelling against restrictions. It's a very rebellious sign. It loves to be associated with ideas of future and progress, technology, science, social change, and also about the collective, groups and humanities, community, mutual aid. All of those kind of things are very Aquarian, and humanitarian belief systems. So when you have both this sign and this planet coming together, because I was researching, I was like, well, is every Pluto sign this intense, or is it just this one?
It's just this one, yeah.
It's really just this one because, because they are such an opposition to each other that you have this kind of big boom, like radical kind of groundbreaking connection happening or disconnection happening, because they kind of almost go back like against each other. You have both revealing of truths and rebelling against, what is at the same time.
So I feel like I totally get why you are kind of getting obsessed with this because I think that in a lot of ways, and, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, it seems like this is actually giving you some like powerful, good energy, even though it's kind of like a scary time that this is like, okay, I can like grip onto this and look at it through this prism.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's one of the reasons why I love astrology, because I feel like I saw a meme the other day that like the Enneagram or the like, you know, INFP or ENFP, whatever,
Right.
the Myers-Briggs, all of that is just corporate astrology.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like our brains do really well with recognizing patterns and
For sure.
being able to label and clarify what we're seeing. And maybe there's like a smidge of autism in there of like me being like, how can I relate to people?
Right.
Oh, you're a Capricorn? Got it. I will not be emotional with you, you know? Like maybe there's a little bit of that. But it does help me feel, I think, less crazy because if you see what's happened in our world just since November 19th, which I do want to point out, Pluto's dipped into Aquarius a couple times in earlier in 2024 as well as 2023, but like November 19th is kind of like the big date,
the lock-in date,
the lock-in, and she'll come out of it for a little bit in the summer, which I'm curious to see how that affects us. But it just helps me make sense of all the chaos in the world because we saw those like what's happening in South Korea with the prime minister trying to like, or president rather, like you know, and
basically trying to do what they're doing here.
Exactly. Everyone protesting and then eventually getting him out, which, amazing. US, pay attention.
Wait, hold up. Are you asking the quote unquote Western world to pay attention to anything outside of that?
I know. It's really sad. It's not, I have such little hope, Lex, I swear to God, but we have to come together. I feel like if the eggs prices are what's going to bond us, then fine. Like whatever makes us come together. But Syria, we saw with, you know, the Assad stuff, like, you know, dismantling in countries across the world, like in Africa and Asia and Europe. So in South America. So it's not just the US, but that was also like the time that Luigi was really top of mind in the news. And obviously we have the presidency that we have now. So when you take a step back and you look at it all, which Aquarius is also, to me, I always think of it as a sign, like waiting for the mothership, like feeling a little bit alien, like I don't quite belong here.
Sure.
They're, I think, the most true, unique individuals of the zodiac. They just kind of do march to the beat of their own drummer. And I, again, maybe a smidge of autism, but I also feel a little bit alien. Like, I love to look at the world and be like, humans are so weird. This is such a weird thing humans do. But this helps me like make sense of it all. Yeah. It's like, oh, okay, Pluto's an Aquarius. This is supposed to be happening.
We'll see going forward how quickly I switch on opinions. This one has like jazzercised me.
Have you already? Yeah.
I'm getting there with you.
Okay.
But like it is, I think for, you know, if I steal one thing from this episode, it will be that the Myers-Briggs is just corporate astrology. That is like something that like my brain knew. I knew that fact, but I was like, we said it. I get it. It clicks. You know, I tend to be a very pragmatic kind of person who like looks very hard. I have a very strong justice system of black and white. There isn't a lot of gray in there, but also am a believer in that people aren't inherently good in the sense that people are inherently lazy and being good usually takes some work.
Yes.
But if we can get some planetary disruption and, you know, jingle that laziness out of people, why not?
Right. I mean, that's also very Virgo of you. I agree with you. And the thing that's, I think, really scary, and I think this is my Sagittarius that's clinging to the positive, optimistic outlook right now, because otherwise I would, as Gen Z says, crash out.
Sure.
We're not guaranteed for this to go well for us.
Right.
This is really up to us as a collective, as a people, as society, for how we handle these next 20 years. And I think if you even were to take away the astrological Pluto Aquarius part of it, we are being tested right now, right?
For sure.
Like literally the ideas of these articles talking about seeing major shifts in power, seeing more shifts in technology, incredible growth, communication. Also, the focusing on differences and division, the us versus them, where they're literally rounding up people right now.
Yeah.
They're removing the, TQ plus. Sorry, I had to do the whole thing because it's always been like, in my mind, it should always be together. TQ plus from all the federal, websites. They are attacking groups of people already. It is very much an us versus them mentality. And so it is up to us to see how we all rise against that. How do we rise to it? Like, what do we do about it? Cause it very well could not go well.
Yeah. And, if nothing else, and I think we are seeing it, that there is less faith and reliance on these big institutions to take care of it. I mean, at least I've noticed there is much more of a focus on community building, which is the way that it has to occur.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I'm not the only person that has had to cut off people in my life and see that those around me are who I want to be in the fight with. And I think if we look at these, these past historical times as like, oh yeah, these are times where people were taking a look at the structure, bigger structural things and realizing that the communities of people are stronger when we are connected, I think that's at least empowering and positive, if nothing else.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of people are feeling that way. I've been seeing that a lot. I'm sure our social media feeds are the same. I've been seeing a lot of that on social, of people talking about how they can build community in even the smallest ways on their own, of removing ourselves from the systems that we know are corrupt and have always been corrupt. And how can we rebuild with each other? Like true mutual aid coming together, or just even starting a book club, starting a community garden. Very small things. And I think that's why I love Pluto and Aquarius, because it gives me also not just a roadmap, but like advice, lessons, things that I can look to for guidance, because, ideas of community, diversity, technology for growth, empowerment, focusing on the collective and shared power, humanitarian efforts, all of that is baked into what this transit means, and what Aquarius means when Pluto is in it. So I think we are right on the money with that feeling, and hopefully it continues to just grow.
We just have to tap into that, seemingly.
Absolutely.
But it seems like, if nothing else, we got a little bit of a buffer of power there helping us along. Is what we're getting.
We're right on track of where we're supposed to be. Okay. I think that's another thing that makes me feel better with, like, sometimes I feel a little like I'm in the wrong timeline. The Matrix, like, glitched and I'm not supposed to be here. I hate this timeline. I actually say that like every day, but we are here. This is where we were meant to be. And, also to quote a lot of the memes and things I see on my social media, people have been pointing out that the age of empires is typically around 250 years.
Yeah.
And we are at our birth year. It's America's birthday. Like, so one of the articles I was reading was saying that the way that we view the world and humanity will likely shift completely by the time Pluto moves into its next sign in Pisces in 2044.
And that this is the beginning, right? That this is the rumblings of that. And you have to, I am not one, as I'm sure you're not, for like, just tear everything down and everything is terrible and nothing works. It's like, no. It's building. You have to go with some basis. Anarchy is not helpful, but these are rumblings. You have to crumble a little bit to find where those fissures and breaks are. And so we're in the rough time right now, but
I'm sorry, I'm very distracted by your adorable dog behind you.
She is my little familiar.
She's like, burn it down.
Oh, fully. This one?
Yeah. I could tell.
Yeah.
Is she your familiar? She's like, I heard fire. I heard brimstone.
Yeah. She's a little demon dog.
I don't know. I feel you. On the other hand, though, there's a part of me, maybe it is the Sagittarius part of me, or maybe it's the Scorpio side. Who knows?
I feel like Scorpio is picking up here. Yeah.
There's a part of me that does kind of want to burn it down. I'm not going to lie.
I get that. I think my Virgo-ness is overpowering that of like, hey, we can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. That baby's cute. There are some things we can.
She all right. She all right. Yeah.
Fine. The bathwater's fetid. It's a little scuzzy. Come on. But no, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't diminish people that want to burn it all down. I get it. I fully get it. I just think there have been systems that I think, that's not the worst. Not a lot of, especially when we're focused on like American politics and stuff. Yeah, a lot of that's garbage.
Right. Well, the thing is, I think that I also learned from reading a lot of these articles and looking at the history, the past of Pluto and Aquarius transits, is that this change, like literal change, not like the Pluto and the Aquarius change, but like these societal shifts are violent, are bloody, and people die and people suffer. Already, we're seeing that. We've had 2 plane crashes already. I don't know when this is going out, but
I think there was not an
another
in-air.
one?
There was a runway crash.
Oh my god! And
wild.
Yes, I. Wait, I do want to mention. I put a pin in the drones and UFOs chat for a second because that's also part of this. Okay, and we also already know there's going to be, and there have been already, countless people who are going to suffer due to this administration's policies. Unnecessarily so. So I think like we have to be aware of that and not be complacent about it, but fight with purpose, right? Like be mindful and thoughtful about impact and how we can come together in a way that can, truly fight against and stand up to fascism, right? Because even the New York Times, bootlicker as it is, was like, I think this is fascist. And everyone was like, girl, where have you been?
Guys, are they doing a fascism?
Are they doing a fascism?
I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I don't know.
But you want to minimize harm, right?
Yeah.
There is already harm. There's going to be more harm. So us as the resistance, as gag, as much as that makes me want to like gag in the bad way. We have to, I think, focus on how do we minimize harm, but enact change. Right?
Yeah. And a lot of that truly is knowing what you are good at in that fight, right? Like not everyone is a warrior. Not everyone is a, funder. Find where you are helpful. And that's where you will do the most impact.
Yes. I think that's also something I'm really curious to see how that shifts again and I'm speaking just about America and our collective consciousness, because we are all raised in a very like individualism mentality, ethnocentricism. Like it's all about it's fine for me, or like I have to look out for number one. Where a lot of other cultures, like Eastern cultures, a lot of European cultures too, are about the collective good. So what can you do to be part of the community? How can you be, honestly, a cog in the wheel? That's the wrong expression. A cog in, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like part of the overall machine.
Part of the machine to,
right.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, and like put the ego aside and work together for the greatest good of the whole collective community. And that is a big shift in thinking for us as Americans.
You bring up that point, and I wanted to ask, because what generation American are you? I'm first generation.
Oh.
My mother was born in England, but she's Persian, grew up in Iran, came over for the revolution. They were Baha'i.
Wow.
And I find, and so you bringing up that idea of, like more non-Western ideas of community that are there structurally, but I have noticed that the longer that family unit or that community lives and inhabits America, there's kind of that adoption of that Western thing. And I just was wondering if you noticed the same thing of like, as soon as it's transplanted to an American ideology, how quickly that absorbs. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. Well, I have an interesting story. So I guess I'm first generation, but I'm technically, so I'm adopted. So I'm an immigrant. I was born in Korea. I am naturalized. Don't come for me. But I was, I was, brought over as a baby and then raised by white people. So I am in touch with my family in Korea though.
Lovely.
I'm very involved in the Asian American community. So like I get to see a lot of these, maybe that's also why I feel like an alien, because I get to see kind of all of these systems,
all these sides, at
play, while not really fully being a part of them. Didn't mean for this to become therapy.
No, I get that. Like I said, like I'm very white passing. No one assumes that, and then I tell people that like my family fled religious persecution, and they're like, "From where? France?" Like, no. So yeah.
Right.
I
Yeah, but I do think it is immediately kind of indoctrinated in you here. You have to.
yeah.
It's by design, right? And I think what's interesting when you were talking about, how that evolves through, multi-generational immigrant families from other cultures, I was thinking about the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag that's instilled in every grade school student.
What grade did you stop saying it?
I don't even remember.
Okay. Because it was 7th grade. I stopped saying it and got in trouble. And then
they caught you.
Yeah, and then I was like, well, I don't have to say it. And they're like, you're right. And so another person stopped saying it. I inspired it. So yeah.
I think my school stopped doing it by middle school.
Oh, okay.
So we only did it in grade school. And I even was like, this is weird, even as like a grade school student. But also, I think as your survival mode wants you to, which is similar, I think, to a lot of immigrant families. Like, you just want to assimilate. You just want to be accepted and like blend into the crowd so that you're not, selected out for torture or bullying or whatever.
You're like, I got enough that they can step on me for. Please don't.
Yeah, just like, let me live. But, it's funny that we have this really intense idea of patriotism here in the U.S., but not about the actual community itself. It's about what you can do for your country, the people in power. Like, go, join the armed services, like sacrifice your entire well-being, mental, physical, emotional well-being, to fight for your country. And good luck when you come out. You're on your own. I have done some work with veterans, and their stories are just heart-wrenching.
This country's never been good.
Yes.
Never been good.
Never good about supporting our veterans. And pledge allegiance to the flag. But like, if you dare to try and actually fight for your peoples to have better life conditions, we will squash you.
What a lovely note to end on. No. This has been not the conversation I thought we were going to have, but I'm really happy we did.
Oh,
yeah, this is great. Like I said before, I love this Pluto and Aquarius thing. I think part of it, you're right, math, that's scary to me, but I like having some of this knowledge to be like, hey, folks, use it. Use this power that is out there. If nothing else, even if it's, as everything is, fully made up and, I always like to say English majored through, like, who cares?
Yes.
That's everything.
Right.
So we can ascribe to democracy, we can ascribe to astrology, those can work in tandem.
Absolutely. And I always say, whatever brings more mindfulness to your life that doesn't harm anyone, that, who cares how it comes for you? So I think, like, the last things I'll say, just to impart some, like, more hopefulness, I guess, besides being squashed, is like, use the Pluto and Aquarius lessons to help you embrace this change and seek deeper connections and question your beliefs, question everything that you hear, see, and read. That's another big thing, especially with AI, right? And, and use technology for good. Seek a better inner and outer understanding of your life, Use it all. Be open to these new experiences in a positive way as best you can.
Thank you for that. Kate, where can our guests find you? I'll link it in the show notes, but sometimes we don't want to read.
Yeah, of course. So you can follow me on Instagram at kickasskmo, kickasskmo. I'm also on Blue Sky. I don't post on Threads. I don't know. I feel weird about her.
I get it. We're in a shift. We're in a cultural shift.
Exactly. So yeah, Kick-Ass KMO, and then I also have a witchy podcast. We did a whole episode about Pluto and Aquarius as well, with an astrologer friend, at Witchcast Podcast, if you want to check that out as well.
Please do. Please, listeners, check Kate out. She's amazing.
Oh, thank you. You're amazing.
Aww. And don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast. Also, you can leave us 5 stars on Spotify, which is also great. So thank you, Kate Moran. Join us next time as we once again prove that my opinion is always correct about everything all the time.